Today, I want to do one of my favorite segments of the year, winners and losers of the early signing period. And all that's coming up after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You gotta help me with that corner shit.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time today. I want to talk about winners and losers in this early signing period after day one, where we had some fireworks in this merry Flipmas. Let's start with what I think is the biggest winner in all of this. Number one, Alabama. Alabama already had the number one recruiting class in the country going into the early signing period, with verbal commits coming from a bevy of 5 stars and 4 stars. And as my buddy Daniel Dillard pointed out over at College Football Nerds, Alabama's already signed 40% of the nation's top 10 wide receivers, and they now include one guy that was committed to LSU and JoJo Earl, who flipped from LSU to Alabama. They include the likes of Christian Leary, who's going to probably come in and play the capstone position for them. That is that slot receiver. That is that Jalen Waddle, John Mechie type of guy, Slade Bolden type of guy. He was considered to be a high-value target for Oklahoma. He ends up getting the woo-woo from Nick Saban, talking about this is who you could be, this is what we could be, and put that woo on him, and now the Tide got him. Alabama sits at 0.23 points. They are probably not going to get to that all-time mark, but with 24 commits, they can get close. They also flipped Keanu Coate from LSU. In this, we thought that LSU might actually get rated after the 4-win season that they've endured in 9 games played. They have a finale this weekend. We'll see how that goes, but they pulled off a tremendously huge win both for their program and for their recruiting against Florida last week in the shoe game, 37-34 in the Swamp. They actually moved to, LSU moves to number 4 in the rankings with a score of 294.75. That's pretty doggone good. It's not as good as Georgia at 294.84, and then Ohio State at 310.39, signing all of the 21 commits that they expected to have. Also means that for the first time in program history, for the first time ever, a program has signed back-to-back number 1 recruits in the ESPN Top 300, Zach Sawyer this year and Julian Fleming last year. Tremendous work being done by Ohio State and that recruiting staff and those coaches. Brian Hartline is on a tear. Larry Johnson's been on a tear basically since 1995, right? And we continue to go down the list. Been remarkable to watch what they're capable of. Another winner I want to point out here is Oklahoma and Texas A&M, right? Start with Oklahoma. You get every last one of the guys that you want to get. You're at 16 in the boat with a 5-star, the number 1 quarterback in the country in Caleb Williams. Lincoln Riley related a story saying when Brock Vandagriff originally committed to Oklahoma, Caleb Williams informed Lincoln Riley he was willing to walk on. That's how much that dude wanted to be in Norman. Vandagriff backs off. Caleb Williams takes that seat. He has since moved to Norman. He is in Norman, and he's been recruiting his tail off. Probably the biggest reason that Oklahoma moved 3 spots in the rankings at the start of the day. By the end of the day, that is tied for the most with Texas A&M. Adding to their list, Savion Byrd, who is one of the better offensive tackles in the country and could play offensive guard for you, but also could end up with Bryce Foster, Tristan Lay, and Kamara Wheaton. As again, they're only at 16 in the boat, but they have all 16 that they wanted to get in this early signing period. And for perspective there, Oklahoma sits at number 7 with 16 commits, while Florida sits at number 8 with 26 commits. So there's some moving and shaking still to be done there, but Florida looks like it could be moving down the list, while Oklahoma still has an opportunity to finish with a top 5 class if it's able to add in 3, 4, 5, 6 dudes that are all in that top 150, top 200 range, to say nothing of adding guys like 5-star Kamara Wheaton and or 5-star Tristan Lay. Texas A&M gets into the top 11, just outside the top 10, with Tumise Adeleye, choosing to sign with Texas A&M after what has been an interesting recruitment for him. Texas A&M was the first school that I thought that perhaps they were going to get him. Oklahoma got in there a little bit. Florida got in there a little later. Commits to Ohio State. Reopens his recruitment. Is down to basically Alabama. Texas A&M chooses Texas A&M and that Aggie network coming out of Katie Tompkins. That means that Katie Tompkins produced 2 blue chippers in this class, the other being Jalen Milroe, who's going to play quarterback at Alabama, who was originally committed to Texas, but had backed off of Texas after Quinn Ewers committed to Texas. Quinn Ewers decommitted from Texas. He's now the number 1 player in the 2022 class and committed to Ohio State. The first time that a 1.000 player has committed to Ohio State, the highest in the history of that school and in the rankings era for that school. Another winner we need to point out here, USC being able to close from, what is this? I believe it's 15. No, they went from 13 to 11, and now they're back down to 13 with some moving and shaking. So they still got some guys that they can get in at 20 commits. All 4 stars, no 5 stars, but a tremendous pickup in Jackson Dart, who's probably had the best season of any quarterback in the country this year. 4,600 yards passing, 67 touchdown passes, 4 interceptions coming out of Corner Canyon. If that sounds familiar to some of you, you should know Zach Wilson came out of Corner Canyon, and he's tearing it up for BYU. And there's a lot of folks that believe that he is one of the 5 best quarterbacks available in this draft. As I'm continuing to do some research around Zach Wilson, I need to also add in there, he is the youngest person to ever start at quarterback for BYU. And you know that BYU has grown men with children and wives playing football there. They go off on the mission trip. They come back as 23-year-old freshmen. Zach Wilson came in right away and has been able to tear it up. They leads a 1-loss BYU that hopes to finish inside the top 10 with a decent showing in their bowl game. Big losers today, I think, start with Texas. 19 commits in the boat. They're at number 17. Tom Herman said, hey, look, we got 9 scholarships left that we can use. How they get divvied up, grad transfer, regular transfer, or high school, we'll see. Texas fans are losing their minds because Texas is mediocre, and they don't believe that they're mediocre, when really the history has been Texas is mediocre. Blips in the radar when they have been able to win national championships, but because they have all this money, we and they believe that they should be competing for championships year in and year out. Another big loser in this, I believe, is Mississippi State. Watching the likes of MJ Daniel flip to Ole Miss on the day of, losing out on some of the prized Mississippi talent in that area. And remember, I'm making them a loser in this because Mike Leach came through and said, I couldn't turn down the opportunity to recruit from this area. And he's right. The Mississippi Delta is rich with high school football talent. So coming down from Washington State to Starkville seemed like the move. But we'll see how long he is able to keep that going, right? Also add in here, when you're looking at the top 10 players in the country, I'm going to point out to you that 3 of them are committed or signed to Alabama. 2 of those are offensive tackles, and you know that if you can win up front, you win a lot of football games. The only 2 players that are still unsigned, uncommitted among the top 10 are number 1, Corey Foreman, and number 3, JT Tuimoloau, who came out with the top 5 on the day of the of the day of the signing periods beginning. And Ohio State is at the top of that list. There's a lot of folks that believe that Tuimoloau also will end up at Ohio State. The crystal balls have him at 92%. All the folks that I trust that would have those predictions have come out and said, yeah, okay, cool, I understand. He's listed at 999 in the rating system, which is ridiculous. And that's going to help Ohio State tremendously in trying to close this gap with the likes of Alabama. I just don't see it happening. I think Alabama's going to run away with this national recruiting championship. All right. Let's talk about it in the comments below. That's it for me. Deuces.